Have you ever felt like just giving up, that things are too hard, life is too complicated, things are never going to change? My guest today hit that wall, but she says she found a peace and joy that keeps her going. Searita, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Cheryl.
So you were at a very low point in your life. You were married, but you and your husband were both crack addicts. Tell me about what life is like in the mix of that addiction.
You're in a very dark place when you're both addicted to drugs. And even though we both were employed, our lives was just full of chaos.
So was there a lot of arguing? Tell me what that marriage was like.
Yes, it wasn't the normal life that we had before drugs. It was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of lying, a lot of distrust. We was just in a dark place.
And how is this affecting your finances? Because I'm pretty sure that being a crack addict is not cheap.
No, it isn't. And actually, a lot of things go lacking. You won't pay your bills. You will not do the things that a responsible, normal, responsible adult would do because of the addiction.
And there were actually some illegal things that ended up happening. Tell me, what were those?
The illegal things was writing worthless checks. And I used to write checks for merchandise, return the merchandise to the store, and go back and get the cash in order to support my habit. And before I knew it, it was spiraling out of control, and I had written many checks.
And not just this, your finances, but now your marriage is on the rocks. It ended up ending.
Yes.
You're a single mom now with 3 kids. Tell me about what happened there. That must have been so tough.
That was a very difficult time for me. I knew that I was missing something in my life, but I didn't realize what I was missing. But by the grace of God, I was able to hold on and just not totally lose my mind in the midst of this chaos. And also I was able, by the grace of God again, to educate my children. They all were able to receive private boarding school educations.
Wow. And you were a functioning addict, because you're raising 3 kids, you're still an addict. How does that even work? How do you hide your habit from your kids? How do you parent?
Actually, you may think you do, but you don't. They know something's going on. They may not be able to put their finger on it, but they know that something is going on. But I was still, what was very important to me was that they don't have to travel the road that their father and I had went down.
You actually cried out to God about this time because you were losing everything financially because of your habit and the checks you were writing. Tell me about that low point.
The low point was, I call it, you know, in the States we have a thing that we say, I'm sick and tired. And what happened was I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I just started calling out to God because my life, it was just a spiraling thing that nothing was changing. So I just started calling out to God because I wanted to be rescued, but I didn't know how to be rescued or what I needed to be rescued. So I just reached that low point where all I could do was turn to God.
It took longer than you wanted, but you finally met a coworker who intrigued you, something about him. Tell me about this man.
Oh, this young man, he was in his early 20s, and I remember the first day I saw him walking towards me, I knew that there was just something different about his countenance. What it was, I couldn't put my finger on it, but he ended up inviting me to church, to a church service, a revival at his church, and unbeknownst to me, he was actually a minister. When I walked into the church, I saw him sitting in the pulpit, and that's when it hit me. That's what was different about him. The Spirit of the Lord was upon him.
Okay, so you probably weren't that interested in going to church potentially, but what was that service like, or what did it do for you?
That service, it's amazing how God works and how God puts the right people in your path. But when I walked into the church, I could feel the presence of the Lord. I could feel the Holy Spirit, and that revival, we saw people being delivered, being set free. We saw people just slayed in the Spirit. I knew it was real, and I wanted that.
And the day that everything changed for you, you're standing there with your cigarette in hand, your coworker's going to lunch to pray, and what do you say to him?
I told him I needed to go with him to pray, and I also told him, I said, I need to stop smoking these cigarettes. And it was amazing because as soon as I told him that I would go, something hit me and I became ill. I became ill. And, but I knew what it was. I knew it was an attack of the enemy to keep me from going. But he also told me, he said, if you come to noonday prayer today, you will stop smoking.
And what did you think?
I didn't think it was real. I was
You're like, you're crazy.
Exactly, exactly, because I had tried to stop smoking so many times prior to this. And I was like, oh, it's a process.
So you're sick, but you get better enough to go. And what happens at noonday prayer?
At noonday prayer, I'll never forget that day. It was August 8th, 2011. And I remember walking into the prayer room, and I remember Pastor Jessie White coming towards me, and she said, does anyone have any special requests? And I said, I do. I want to stop smoking cigarettes. And just at that, as soon as I said that, it hit me. I said, you know what? I need to give my life to the Lord. And she came over, she anointed my head with oil. I don't remember anything else that happened. The next thing I remember, I was being helped up off the floor by two men.
So that would be kind of an experience where the power of God hits you and something changes. What was it like when you got back up? Was something different?
Oh, I felt the difference. I knew something had happened to me. One thing, I knew the chairs that were around me, they were all scattered all over the place. But I knew within myself that something had taken place. And Pastor White said, you have been set free, you have been delivered, and you will not smoke again.
And what happened?
I did not smoke again. I left my cigarettes there in the sanctuary, and we made it back to work, and I had about 10 minutes to spare within my lunch hour.
Okay, so you are free of cigarettes, but what else has changed about Searita?
What else has changed about me? I tell you, I never knew that today I'd be sitting here talking to you. I am a minister from my church, Higher Heights Prayer and Deliverance Ministry in Bloomfield, Connecticut. God spoke to me. I had never heard God speak to me before. God woke me up one night and he spoke to me and he said, you will deliver my word. And I questioned him because I didn't go to Bible college. I didn't study theology. And God said, I will teach you. So today I sit here as a licensed minister from the States.
Wow, and I'm assuming that you don't do crack cocaine anymore. We didn't
No,
talk about
ma'am.
that, but when did that end?
Oh, that ended in, it was in the early
So
2000s, yeah.
even before this prayer for the
Oh,
cigarettes and
yes.
everything,
Oh, yes.
you got out of it.
I got out of it.
And how are your kids doing now?
My children are well.
Like you said, that impact that you had on them, that you thought you were hiding it. Has that been healed, that relationship, that impact?
You know what? It did affect them in ways they never really talked about it. But later on in life, I realized, especially maybe with my oldest son, more than the other two. But they have seen the change in my life now. I remember my daughter, she said, I don't know what happened to you at noonday prayer, but whatever it is, I like it.
Okay, so if somebody's watching this right now, and maybe they're in a dark place, and they're like, at that low point that you were at, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't think I can ever change. That's your story, Searita, but it may not be mine. What would you tell that person?
I would tell them to call unto the Lord. Call unto the Lord. Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto the Lord, and he will answer you. He may not come when you want him to, because I thought God did not hear me calling out to him, but he heard me. But God operates in his own time. We can't understand his ways. We can't understand his thoughts, but God will never leave you nor forsake you. And if you call unto God with a pure heart, believe me, God will answer you.
Thank you so much for coming to share your story. I think you give a lot of hope to a lot of people.
I hope so. I hope so. There is hope as long as there's breath in your body. And I think sometimes it takes us reaching that low point in our lives, because we try so many things and a lot of people feel like they need to be in control. But once you let go control and let God handle your situation for you, there is hope, and your life can change. So I hope that my testimony has inspired someone today
I know
to
it has.
put their trust in the Lord.
I know it has. Thank you so much, Searita.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's a great quote. Did you hear that? If you give up control and say to God, You fix it because I can't do it. You know what? Sometimes giving up is the strongest spiritual position you can take. It doesn't mean not trying or just laying in bed all day, but there is an attitude to say, like, I'm going to trust this to you now. I'm going to give you a chance. And he goes, oh, good. You stopped trying. Here, let me try. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a better job. I want to challenge you today. If you've never done that and you maybe tried everything else and nothing's working, what do you have to lose? Why not give it a try? If you want someone to say that prayer with you in person or even just talk to them a little bit more about what's going on in your life, we would love to walk with you on this spiritual journey. You can give our prayer lines a call. Wonderful people will answer that phone. That number is 1-866-273-4444. We'll be right back.